You
All
got the
right.
same problem in the States.
All right. Let's
Go
get
ahead.
to my little problem that I'm facing here. I am signed up for my first virtual call to speak to a doctor over the phone in a few days, and unfortunately, I just can't get in to see a doctor. I haven't seen a doctor since 2019, and
Yes.
unfortunately, I just can't see a doctor. So they signed me up for a virtual tour. I was told that basically because of the housing crisis, more and more doctors just can't afford to live in Canada, and basically, she blatantly told me that. And I said to her, "Did you say housing crisis?" And she said,
Hmm.
"Yes." And I went on my spiel for like 13 minutes, and she listened to every word I said. And she's like, "Wow, I'm happy I made this call to book you for this." So there's a virtual tour I have to do to see a doctor or not, or to hear from a doctor. Now, here's the other problem. My hospital, I think, just reopened this morning. It was closed for 2 days. So the hospital is constantly closing here in my town. And yes, there's two stoplights, but the problem is there's like 7,000 people here. And we're paying like $4,700 for property tax for the two stoplights. That's a big problem here. And this is what's happening. And you telling me that they're going to be opening private clinics in Alberta where people could go see a doctor, and it's decentralized. I think that's amazing, and that's what I've been hoping for the longest time, because I would gladly pay a couple of $100 to go get a checkup. I gladly pay a couple of $100 to get my blood work. I don't have to wait 300 years to get it done, right? I
Yes.
would gladly
Yes.
pay for this
Yes.
stuff. And then you know what the governments I think are scared of is that because you're paying for healthcare, you could find a way to expense it into your income taxes. And they're afraid that you people will be expensing healthcare through income tax, right? And they get a discount, or they get a alleviated tax or a bigger tax return because they have to go off the system to get healthcare. And I think governments are looking at this on every angle, saying we're going to lose money that way, and we're going to, so I think we should have privatized healthcare for those that choose to have it. I really think, because then they're not bought and paid for. They're not regurgitating the garbage that they're being told by big pharma. They're not regurgitating the bullshit and the him and the her, whatever it is, and they're actually there for you as a human being, and that's what I'm really hoping for in our healthcare system here in British Columbia. But yeah, go ahead, Supreme.
Yeah. The idea of nurse practitioners is they could theoretically afford to set up shop, and every little town could have one to look after, a couple of thousand people. And the idea of primary care is you go to somebody with a hangnail, or you go to somebody with you don't have to go to emergency room. You don't have to drive to the next big town to the emergency room. You can go to a nurse practitioner. You can go to someone who could serve probably as a midwife, right? You've got someone who could make house calls if necessary, right? You've got situations where a whole lot of triage can take place, and then only the hardest cases get referred to the hospitals. It lightens the workload for everyone, right? And I mean, obviously, there's no stomach in the healthcare bureaucracies themselves to reorganize themselves to move people through the system faster. We have the technology, and the people have the training, and they should be able to see everybody for the amount of money we're spending. And
Right.
that doesn't seem to be the case. Like there's places where they're stacked up in the hallways like cordwood, and that's terrible. And I imagine the people working in that environment, it's hard on their morale too. So you need a sense of teamwork again in that kind of primary care, where people are doing good, and they know they're doing good, and they're not creating extra burdens for healthcare. We have a crisis, and the idea of a crisis is that should give you license to make decisions,
That's right.
right? Yeah, you're going to have people saying, "Oh, this is all wrong, and you shouldn't do this. We just need more money." It's like, okay, well, there is no more money, and we still have to do something, so we're going to do this instead, right? But someone has to be willing to make the decision, and usually they don't get that kind of empowerment until you have a crisis. Our whole country is in crisis in a lot of ways, and we need hard decisions made, and we need them regardless of political expediency, and we need them yesterday. Like seriously,
It's not like we're paying. It's
our
not
our
like we're not
entire our
paying for
entire
it.
society.
We're paying for this through the nose.
Well, we are, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and people can't pay more. The more you expect people to pay, the more people you put on the street. Like carbon tax and things like that are basically GST 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more money going into a rat hole, and we just reached a point where people that don't understand how our civilization got to be as powerful and wealthy as it is, right? Like we're all playing on the infrastructure that was built by smarter people 60 years ago,
Right.
and we need people that can maintain it.
Again, it's the end of the European
And
expansion is finished.
well, yes, or at least it's in a hiatus for now.
I
Right?
don't think
Okay,
Europeans want to come back
Europeans
to
built all
Canada
this
ever,
stuff.
like the glory days, like after World War II,
Well,
and
if Mike, if there wasn't such an emphasis on reducing their influence
mm-hmm.
and impeding them from doing the things necessary to keep things orderly and the books balanced, they'd probably be happy to come here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case. Like it got to the point where it's like, okay, if you're a descendant of any of the people that actually founded the place,
Mm-hmm.
or anybody that arrived within the last 100 years, say since World War II, then you need to understand that we're building something different now. No, we're not going to tell you what it is. No, we didn't actually have a mandate. Nobody actually voted for it. But we're going to remodel Canada and turn it into a snow-covered gay disco. But we don't want to tell you that,
Yeah.
right? Where everybody thinks the same thing and they all live in a state of rainbow solidarity. And I mean, it's more complex than that, obviously. But no, you've got people that don't know how to build countries trying to rebuild this one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. I mean, the place is too cold. It's too big. We don't have room for mistakes like this.
No, we don't.
And now people are suffering. People are living in tents in parks that should have been gainfully employed and living a middle class lifestyle.
Exactly.
Right? You've got a few very wealthy people sitting on top of it all, thinking they're winning, while they're actually sawing off the branch that they're sitting on.
Mm-hmm.
And even the thing about the crown land, yeah, a lot of land is tied up under the crown. That's true. Occasionally, they release some of it so that people can buy it and develop it and do things with it. But if it was a choice between the crown owning it and BlackRock owning it, I know how I would vote.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in that at all. Bill Gates can't buy crown land. That works for me.
Mm-hmm. I see.
At least there's hope. It preserves some kind of hope. You know what I mean?
Is this
bad. It's
Supreme?
a bad situation, but it could be a lot worse.
Is this the introduction to the opposites now?
I don't know what you mean.
I'm joking. I'm joking. There used to be a little sitcom show I used to watch where there was an introduction to the opposites, and it would be like the kid would come home from school hungry, and it's like, have some chips and have some fried chicken and some junk food, and they would say, oh, this is the introduction. So it would be the opposite of what normally, you know what I'm trying to say. If anyone knows what TV show that's from, this is just the introduction to the opposites. Can you comment below and let me know if you know what show I'm talking about? I'd really appreciate that.